The digital world moves fast, but real growth comes from real conversations. This is eCoffee with Experts, where marketers and founders share what's actually working in SEO, AI, and digital growth. Grab your coffee and fuel your mind as we chat with top minds about their wins, struggles, and lessons you won't find in a blog post. Brought to you by Digital Web Solutions, we bring real talk to help you grow your business, one episode at a time. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Victor here, back with eCoffee with Experts, and nobody's actually an expert if they had not tried and failed, right? This is the part of life. We need to fail in order to succeed, in order to improve ourselves, make sure that we understand what works and what doesn't. But at the same time, it's 2025, a lot of AI, a lot of tools. Do we really have the time to fail first to succeed later? Do we even the money to burn for those occasions? If the answer is no for you, then look no further than Spiralyze, because they are doing A/B testing for, I think, over 70,000 websites already. So we're not talking about somebody who's starting now. We're talking about a company with a tool that has been proven by the market itself. And of course, being the experts in the field, we brought the CEO, Sahil Patel, here to talk with us today about it all. So let's go directly to the man, shall we? Sahil, thank you for being on the show. How are you doing today?
I am well, Victor. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Really glad to be here.
Yeah, no, it's an honor, really. You're such a nice guy already, such a presentable person. It's nice having somebody on the show that has already been several podcasts and knows the ins and out of the process itself. And as you know, as I'm saying right now, we all start by asking more about you. If you can share more about your story, who were you when you were growing up, so that the audience that still doesn't know you will at least resonate with the child.
I think I'm a child that never grew up.
Same.
Still like to do a lot of the things I did as a kid. I like to play soccer, big soccer fan. I actually still play. It's in a old man's league, in an over 40 league, but I play Monday nights. It's
Must
really
be amazing.
It's a lot of fun. The quality of the play is good. Everyone's just moves a lot slower than they used to.
Yeah.
And I really like music. I play guitar. I have a hobby playing a band just for fun. Actually, I have a show tomorrow night. We're recording this.
Oh,
It's
wow.
Thursday,
It's
June
Thursday,
19th.
yeah.
I've got a show Friday night at a local brewery. So that gives you a sense for a little bit about me.
I'm wishing you all the best already. Those that will be all watching us on YouTube when this is over, just leave a comment like, hey, Sahil, I know that you did your best. It was great. Just let's support. Please go on.
Yeah. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. And then I've moved around a bunch, but today live in Atlanta, Georgia. And I have a wonderful wife, Katie, and two lovely girls. One
That's
that
nice.
is in high school and one that is going into second grade.
That's nice. It's nice to see that you have like a set family with your hobbies, with guitar, soccer. You're living the dream for a lot of guys, right? A lot of guys wish they had the time to do everything that you're doing. But of course, you're the CEO of a very nice software, as you were talking about, and people want to understand more about it. But before I jump literally into Spiralyze, I know from your history itself that you already founded something else, which you ended up selling in the future, and then this got you into Spiralyze.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us more about it?
So I was the founder, CEO of a company called ER Express. It's a healthcare tech company. I ran it for 10 years, sold it. It still does. It's around. It's
Awesome.
running, and it does patient scheduling, digital registration, kind of privacy. It's like there's a whole bunch of forms you got to fill out before you go see a doctor. You got to sign a privacy statement, all those things. It lets you do those things from your phone. And let me tell you, healthcare is a really tough market, very competitive, highly regulated, and it's a smaller market than everyone would think. When I say small, I'm talking about healthcare tech. So it's put aside like pharmaceuticals, life science, biologics, even care delivery. It's specifically healthcare tech. And one of the challenges of it is that what works in the US is not portable to other countries. So there's just limited horizontal, use a kind of made up word, horizontality.
Well understand.
Really, business with really big market opportunities. They take something, they figure out what works, and then they figure out how to adapt it to other kind of nearby markets, which geographic. And that was one of the biggest things I learned from it, is that the smaller your market, the tougher the job is.
That's interesting. I mean, we have similar experiences in more niche markets. Let's just pretend I already have had two guests here on the show. They sell CBD products.
Okay.
So very niche indeed, and they all have their own difficulties. But as you said so yourself, whenever we think about healthcare, we think about pharmaceuticals, we think about the big guys, right? So having technology in healthcare, which is called health tech, right, is the name of the market,
Health
like
tech. Yep,
fintech,
that's right.
martech, where it's health tech. Um, looks like a very adrenaline rushed moment in your life that you had. And I know the rush is something that you also like very much. But what made you then step away, sell the company to go open to market? Because I also know that it wasn't like immediately that you went after Spiralyze, right? There was some time and then you got into it.
Yeah, first decision to sell ER Express, and then decision to become CEO of Spiralyze. To sell, one of my staff, as I was leaving, asked me, like, well, she asked, like, when did you kind of decide? It's a big deal when CEO founder leaves. And I told her, I was like, in some ways, I made that decision the day I took outside investment money, which, by the way, happened almost at the founding. Because the day you take someone else's money, you're committing to finding a way to return that money to them, ideally return more than they gave you. And
In a window, in a set window, right? Which
yeah,
is also very pressurizing.
exactly. Now, one is my investors were very patient. Right? They were in the business for about 10
Right.
years. So that's number one. That's one reason it was time to sell the business. Number two, the business during COVID, it kind of dipped. And then we found a way to actually turn that kind of crisis into an opportunity. Because it turns out that when everyone is waiting at home or waiting in their car, doing things on your phone becomes not just a nice to have, it becomes a must have. And we also discovered that what was true for the human healthcare market was also true for the veterinary market. So if you think about how uncomfortable it is to wait, let's say in your car for the doctor's appointment to be seen, think about how bad it is to sit in a car with your dog and your dog is sick. Well, you can't explain to your dog what's going on. Right?
Yeah.
The dog doesn't understand what there's a COVID going on. So it actually went from being a very difficult time to being a time of growth. And so it was a combination of, one, our investors had been very patient, but they needed liquidity out of the business. Two, the business, after kind of doing this and doing this, going down, it was now going up. And then number three, a company unsolicited came to us and said they were interested in acquiring us because we'd be a good fit for one of their other companies. And that made it a good time to do it. I would think, fourth thing, just as a personal thing, I felt like I had taken the company as far as I could. The CEO founder, just maybe selfishly, I wanted a place for the company where it could exist for the long term. For the employees would have a place to work if they so chose. The customers would be taken care of. And the company that approached us, that was their mindset. They buy companies, they never sell them. They're a permanent buy and hold. So they're there for the long term. They're not there to strip out all the assets and sell it for parts or fire all the employees and just kind of run it and barely keep the lights on. They were going to take care of it. So I felt they were going to be great stewards of the business. So that's what made it a really good time to do it.
And then,
so that's
that decision
part one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this is an interesting story. It's a little bit unusual. I was actually an early customer of Spiralyze.
Okay. That's actually very interesting.
Yeah. I had met the founder. His name is Gajan Retnasaba. We actually met because our older daughters went to the same school.
What are the odds?
Yeah. We met at a parent event. And, you kind of chit chat at these parent events. And he was telling me what CRO was, which I kind of got the concept, this idea of like A/B testing, but I hadn't really thought about in the context of like business software. And he kind of opened my eyes to it. And he's like, hey, your business, ER Express, actually would benefit from it, because have you optimized that, whenever a patient is going to say check in from their phone, he's like, have you thought about, well, should you ask for their name first, or should you ask them why they're coming in? I'll admit, I thought about it a little bit, but not a lot. And he's like, well, have you measured whether it makes a difference in getting more people to fill in the form? And I said, no, but I immediately kind of the light bulb went on, because I got the more patients that filled in the form, the hardest part was just getting them there to open their phone and actually do it. And the more did it, the more value we were creating for our customers, because our job was to, number one, help the health systems acquire patients. That's a weird way to use that phrase, like customer acquisition. We use that in the marketing world, but someone thinks about, well, wait, acquiring a sick patient. But here's the fact. Almost every patient has choices about where they're going to go. Now, that's not true. If you had a heart attack or you've been gunshot wound, you're just, for the most part, going to whatever's closest. But for everyone else, you have some choices. And so if you can take friction out of that process, you can bring patients and they can make choices about where to go. And by the way, the closest hospital location is not always the fastest.
Makes sense, especially
And most
depending on the
people,
way.
yeah, and if you're not a life-threatening illness type of patient, you're probably willing to drive an extra 10 or 15 minutes if it means you're going to get in like an hour faster. Okay. So that was our proposition. And I got it right away. And I said, and what he explained to me is he said, look, you could make a guess or you could measure it by randomly giving half the patients one experience, half the patients a different experience, and then measuring the difference. Maybe there's no difference, maybe there's a big difference, but you should measure it. And I said, yes, we did it. It did have a big impact on the business. There were certain things you could do to get more people to fill it in. And that opened my eyes to the power of conversion rate optimization. We use the acronym CRO, conversion rate optimization. And so I was a customer. I was an early customer, used it for a long time, and I'd stayed in touch. And because I live in Atlanta, John lived in Atlanta, our older daughters were really good friends. We would see each other a lot. And after I'd sold ER Express, he said, hey, he had continued to build Spiralyze organically, no outside capital, totally bootstrapped, done an incredible job building it organically. And he was looking for a partner to help him take it to the next level. I had some things I was good at. He had some things he was good at. It was a very unique situation. I couldn't, if you went to a recruiter and said, hey, I want to be a CEO, here's the things I'm looking for. They would look at you and be like, okay, I mean, that sounds great. How am I going to find that? In Atlanta, company with no outside capital, growing, profitable, founder has complementary skills. Yeah, trustable.
Yeah.
And by the way, most of the time when a founder leaves, there's two situations most common. One is they're burnt out and they just need to leave and someone's coming to replace them. Or the investors are dragging them out of the building, kicking and screaming, like they've outlived their usefulness. This was neither of those situations. So that's what made it really rare. And he sits 6 feet from me, I'm looking at him right now. So we work closely together on all aspects of the business and it's worked out really well.
That's great. That's actually a very nice origin story. He already A/B testing a lot before you joined the company, talking literally about Spiralyze and its systems and its scalability? Or was it something, I'm not going to say ready, but readier when you got to the point of becoming the CEO?
So, Victor, help me out with the question there. The question is, what was the state of Spiralyze when I joined?
That's it. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. So that was the thing that was really appealing about it, is that the business was already in a healthy condition. It was growing. It was cash flow positive. It had a real value proposition. It had already been running at that point for about 6 years. So it was a real business. It wasn't huge, and there was a real potential for a lot of growth. That's what I saw was the upside potential. Now, the day I arrived, I didn't know it at the time, but the business was about to go from doing this, going up, 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 to going flat, 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 and in fact shrinking. Why?
Okay.
The recession of 2022.
Right.
And like most things, first sales slowed down a little bit, then they slowed down a lot. Then some customers were leaving because their budgets were getting cut. And so they were then cutting vendors. And in the first 6 months, we ended up having to do a headcount reduction. Now, when you get hired in to be a growth CEO, and
you
the first 6 months, you have to do a reduction. That wasn't where we thought we would be. But I think that's one of the benefits of being a second-time CEO is you learned you have to, in the near term, you have to play the cards you're dealt. Now, long term, you can do things to change that and get a better hand. You can change games, you can get a new deal, or you can ask for a reshuffle, like all those things, metaphorically speaking. But in the near term, there wasn't anything we could do, and we needed to improve the fiscal health of the company. So we had to take the hard medicine. We did that. It took about another year for growth to come back to the business. And during that year, it ended up being a blessing in disguise. We used that to re-engineer a bunch of processes to set ourselves up for growth. We didn't know when the growth was going to come back. We had some hypotheses. Again, like benefit of being a second-time CEO, you learn to focus on the things you're in your control and detach yourself from the things not in your control. Doesn't mean you don't care. Doesn't mean they don't affect you. Doesn't mean they don't keep you up at night. But you learn to have some detachment and say, okay, I got to play the long game here. Let's use this time to get ready for growth. Is the growth going to come back tomorrow or next month or next year? I don't know, but I want to be ready for it when it comes back. So never let a crisis go to waste. And so we did that. Like anything, it takes longer. It always takes longer than you think it will.
Of course. Let me ask you, you're talking about how you were thinking and planning ahead. Nowadays and recently, there have been more discussions about the mental health and mental state of the CEOs.
Yeah.
Right.
Great
You'll
topic.
have, yes, exactly. I hope Luigi's far from us at the moment right now. But how does it all work for you when you have to shut off, when you were like in the office and you had to do the hard decisions? You're still a human being and a nice guy and somebody charitable. So it's not like you're anything in a bad way. But of course, the headlines could make it look like you were somebody bad. So how does a CEO like you, how does a guy like you reinforces the idea of like, hey, it's not like I went there and I fired Victor because Victor talks too much. No, it was a difficult decision and a massive one. How was it?
I mean, it's not good. I think one of the skills that comes with experience is learning to live in the valley. Every
Okay.
business has peaks and valleys. And the
Mm-hmm.
reality is, you often spend more time in the valley than you do in the peaks. And not that you want to live or you want to be complacent, but there's actually I think it's a skill, is learning to say, hey, I'm in the valley right now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get out of it, but I can be comfortable living in the valley.
Can build your house over there, your wood house, your wood cabin over there, right? Or do I go and get out of it?
Right. And I think that's a much healthier way to live.
That's actually a very nice piece of advice. Thank you. I'll take
Yeah.
that with me forever, for sure. Forever.
Now you can't
Living
stay
in the
there. You
Yeah,
can't stay
but
there.
it's what you said. It's important to know when you are there. I took this
Yeah.
wrong turn. Now I'm in the valley.
That's part of it. Say, hey,
Yeah,
I'm in the valley. And maybe I gotta live here for a little while.
yeah, and that's even in life, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're not always
Very
pressing.
true. Very true for life. Yeah.
Coming back to it, to websites as well, and to customers' using experiences whenever they are going first to book something or to schedule something up. So I think right now, what I'm pointing towards is let's talk a little bit deeper and into more the technology of spiralizing the things that you're doing right now.
Let's do
If
it.
I were to come up to you guys, say, hey, I have my website, it's performing, I know and I wish it could do better. Should I just tweak some minor buttons or should I just go big and test bigger and make sure, how can I say this, but make sure that, at least if we are gonna do different tests, let's literally do different tests and not just like one color.
Yeah. So I think what you're asking me is if you do want to do some A/B testing on your website, what's the best way to go about doing it? Okay. The headline answer is you should take big swings and you should run as many tests as possible. Now, what does a big swing mean? It means testing small, tiny things like we'll make the button blue instead of green is especially, by the way, the world I live in, most of our customers are B2B
Mm-hmm.
SaaS companies. Okay, so let's put aside if you're Nike.com and you have millions of people coming and there's thousands of transactions happening every minute. That's just a different world, and let's just kind of put that over to the side. And if you're listening or watching this show and that's who you are, it's wonderful. And there's a different mindset when it comes to A/B testing for that. Okay. In the world of B2B, or maybe more specifically, B2B SaaS website testing, those kind of small, I call them meek testing, MEEK, meek testing. It doesn't move the needle, and you don't have the traffic, and it's to get a statistically significant outcome. Also, by the way, most tests will just prove to be inconclusive if you run meek tests. And then you're like, okay, it wasn't that good, it wasn't that bad, I didn't really learn anything from it. And by the way, there's a real cost to testing, because for every test you run, there's a bunch of tests you didn't run. And maybe one of those tests is the one that actually makes your business perform better. You're much better off taking a big swing, which is reimagining the overall experience. So if you have think about a homepage on a B2B website that has a vague headline, says something like, revolutionize your sales team powered by AI.
How?
Jargon, buzzword. What the hell is it?
Another one.
And then it shows like a stock photo of someone looking at their phone, looking happy. Who are all these people? Yeah. Okay. And there's no social proof. I'm using a little bit of marketing language. Or social proof is just a way of saying, hey, who else uses this product? And is this for big enterprise? Is this for small business? Is this for middle market? Yeah, agencies. Who uses it? If none of those things are present, probably the best possible test you can make is to combine multiple ideas into a single test so you can get a big signal. By the way, that signal might be negative. It tells you
But
you need to go in a different direction.
a result, right? It is a
It is a result.
response.
And it could be, hey, let's write a headline that's really crisp. Close more deals in 90 days through personalized emails. I'm just making something up that's actually specific. It's quantifiable. It conveys a benefit. You can show your product. Show a nice, beautiful screenshot. These aren't hard to find. Ask your sales reps, what's the moment in the demo that creates a wow for the audience? All sales reps know what it is. Then show some social proof. Could be your 5 best logos. It could be your user ratings on Capterra. You got to find the one that holds currency for your audience. By the way, they're not all the same.
Of course.
And what matters to the enterprise audience is different than what matters to the SMB audience. Okay, you take a big swing. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. You don't stop there. If it wins, you make it your new thing you're trying to beat. We call that the control in the A/B testing world. And then you try to beat it. And you do that over and over and over. In fact, the best companies will go through 3 to 4 homepages in a single year.
Oh, wow.
And they're constantly testing their way into the messaging, the positioning, the imagery, the social proof, the what's called the visual hierarchy all the time. Okay, you do that. Now the question is, but what should you test? You could use random ideas. Victor, you and I could sit with a whiteboard and we could hypothesize, well, maybe this would work. Maybe we look at our competitors. Here's the problem with that. You're much better off, I want to give you the headline answer, running proven winners. Test where there's actual data to show it's performed. And imagine this for a moment, Victor. You go to the doctor. Imagine I'm your doctor and you say, Dr. Patel, I'm not a doctor, but Dr. Patel, I have this stomach ache. I say, great, Victor. I open up and I say, I have this medicine for you. And you look at it and go, I've never heard of this. What is this? I go, oh, it's really good. I just came up with it and I gave it to my neighbor and it worked great for her. What would be your reaction?
Sure, doctor. Yeah, I'm going to take it. I'll let you know, right? It's going to be
very you'd be skeptical. You'd be skeptical. And you might say, your neighbor, did she have the same symptoms as I do?
Yeah.
And I said, well, yeah, maybe. And then you might say, well, what about the dosage? Like, how much of this should I take? And is your neighbor, is she the same size, the same age?
The side effect that she had, can you share it with me?
And I'd say, yeah, don't worry. It worked out great for her. Okay. This is how most people build websites.
That's actually a very nice methodology because I can already understand that this is not how things should be done. Right.
By the way, that's not how medicine works, right? When you have a medicine, what do? You run tests. And ultimately you work your way, in the US at least, the kind of the gold standard is you take the medicine, you give it to 2 groups. They call it the placebo. They get what turns out to be like a sugar pill, and the other group gets the real thing. And they make sure that both groups are equally represented. Men, women, old people, young people, really sick people, not so sick people. And then they measure, okay, how many people get better? By the way, in almost every study, there's a group that gets the placebo and gets better. And if the audience may have heard, it's called the placebo effect. Right? What that tells you is by chance, some people just get better.
Yeah.
And if you don't do a controlled experiment, you can't actually measure how much effect did your course of treatment actually have. That's what we're doing for websites, is we're in a sense running these massive clinical trials for websites, and we're doing it. So if you think about how expensive it is to get traffic to your website.
It is a lot. We work with SEO here. We know how it is.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's super expensive.
Variable,
You're doing SEO. Plus, depending on your business, people might be doing running paid campaigns. They might run ads on Facebook. They might run ads on LinkedIn, TikTok. They're getting traffic to come in. And now think about how hard it is to get that traffic to convert. Now, if you're Nike.com, I'll come back to that. What does convert means? It means you put the shoes in the shopping cart and check out. If you're a B2B software company, that's not really how it works. Most of the time, people are either signing up for some kind of free trial, or they're saying, hey, I want to see a demo. Show me the software.
Contact sales, the demo.
Yeah, contact sales. Now, there's a bunch of other secondary things like attending a webinar or going to an event or, downloading a white paper. But the most valuable things usually come down to something like, hey, I want to talk to a sales rep. I want to get my hands on the product, try it out. That's really hard. So what we do is we go and find everyone else's A/B tests and find what actually has worked for other companies. For example, if you want to know on a paid landing page for an HR tech company that does employer of record software for the enterprise market, what's working for them? By the way,
And
what's working for them doesn't mean one thing. It means what is the portfolio of ideas that you should test.
And then you take those ideas and you work around it.
Well, our secret sauce is our customers then get to run the best tests based on what has worked for other companies like them.
You see.
Not to turn this into an infomercial for Spiralyze, just
No, but it should
laying
be.
the context for what's A/B testing.
I actually am now wondering about real examples, Dr. Patel. If you can give me some.
My mom would be thrilled to hear you say that, but I'm not.
I imagine so. Mine would be the same. But if you could tell us some 3 good medicines that everybody should be utilizing in the SaaS world.
Yeah, I'll give you 3.
In their homepage.
1 is show the product. 2 is make it easy to skim. Number 3 is give social proof. Let's go through those. Number 1, show the product. Show the product, show the product, show the product. It is amazing how many companies you go to their homepage and the product is nowhere to be found.
You have to scrape on YouTube and then you see a 2 years video that's super old, another interface. It's usually the founder where he did a VC round 2 years ago and it's on YouTube and that's the video and that's how you manage to find it. You lose interest naturally.
Yeah. And it's also like that. It's your software company. It's like, imagine a car ad. I don't know. When's the last time you saw a car ad? Can you think of the last car ad you saw?
Actually, this is a very touching point because I was 30 minutes ago looking at my next one, which I wanted to be a Fiat 500 convertible to drive through Portugal. So yeah.
What did the ad look like, Victor? Paint the picture for our audience. What did you look at?
Okay, so it was a beautiful, beautiful sunny sky, and then the road was empty, but the car was shiny, prestige, just driving itself, and there was a couple inside it. I could picture myself and my wife inside the car.
Yeah, as hugging the curves and
super smooth.
Yeah. Now imagine that same ad, but remove the car.
It would be very weird, right? It wouldn't even work.
Number 1, it would be weird. Number 2, what would you be left with? Number 3, would it get anyone to buy the car? I don't say buy the car, but even consider the car.
Yeah.
This is what most B2B homepages look like. It's a car ad without the car.
That's perfect.
And in its place, now imagine, let's take this a little further. Imagine that instead of the car, they just had the couple that was sitting there, but they just had the couple sitting on the road and they looked unnaturally happy. You'd really be like, what the hell is this?
I would think it's an ad for another type of product.
Yeah. This is also what a lot of B2B SaaS homepages do, is they show stock photos of happy people. And the thinking here, by the way, maybe comes from a good place. It's like, oh, well, if we show happy customers, then people will come here and say, oh, they're happy, I'll be happy too. But the reality is that's not what people are looking for. If they're looking to buy a car, they want to see the car. If they came to buy software, they want to see the software. And you don't need to be tricks. You don't have to do it in a necessarily elegant, fancy way. Just take your best screenshot, make it large, put it on your homepage. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, make the copywriting easy to skim. No one wants to read your wall of text. Number 3, use social proof. Now, I've heard anecdotes that say, oh, no one trusts the logos. Everyone has logos. They're not wrong. But I think they're misinterpreting what social proof does. I actually don't think social proof gets people to buy a product, especially when we're talking about B2B software, which is complicated, expensive, and often has a long consideration cycle. That's just marketing speak for almost no one goes from the first time they've heard about the product to buying the product in a short amount of time. Right? It's not like shoes, right? You want a new pair of shoes. Hey, maybe you like a certain brand of running shoes. Maybe you go to Amazon. You go, hey, I wear a size 10. I like Adidas. Click, add to cart, buy. Do it. Right? Maybe at the longest, you go to the store, you try it on, and you're carrying the shoes home. That's called a short consideration cycle. B2B software is a long consideration cycle. So to expect your social proof to do that actually is wrong. Now, there are some forms of very high intent social proof that work when someone's at the buying stage. And what they want to know is for a customer that's like exactly in their situation, show me proof that it works. Okay, then it can have an effect. But on a website, what they're really looking for is, am I in the right place?
Yeah. Is this going to solve my problem? Is this for me?
The first is, am I in the right place? Two, does this solve problem for people like me with problems like mine?
Yeah.
Okay? Now, if you come and you look at the software and you're a big enterprise company, and what you see is lots of testimonials from Sahil's dry cleaner, you're like, this is the software might be great, but they don't have the sophistication to serve the enterprise. They don't have
Okay.
the SOC 2 document. They don't have the ISO 2701 certificate. They don't have the customer support to handle my large scale needs. Okay. On the other hand, if you're a small business and you come, you look at their homepage and everything is Gartner this, Gartner this, Gartner this, Magic Quadrant, that's not what you're looking for because you probably want something nimble that's going to provide. You're not looking for the enterprise package. The social proof is a valuable signal, tells people they're in the right place. Run experiments, see which one has currency with your audience.
We're talking about intangible things, software, right? We're not talking about cars anymore, or
Yeah.
shoes, or video games. We're talking about things, as you said to yourself. Not only that, but I have been a SaaS account executive for such a long time. What you're saying is indeed what happens. There's a lead coming by. He's also requesting help for other 3 software, very similar ones. Probably a price auction is going to happen. A lot of things happen in the meantime. Getting towards even the beginning of the journey, being intangible. So me, have my own website, have my things, have my software up and running. How do I even talk to my target then? I know now that I need a good video, social proof, but the reading part, very difficult for me. Not a copywriter. What should I do?
Well, it's a great question because so many B2B websites fill their homepage or their landing pages or their ads with jargon, word soup,
Oh,
meaningless
yeah.
things. And a great tactic, and I want to be very clear, I did not up with this idea. It's not my idea, but it's a really good one, which is go read your own customer reviews
Oh, that's a great
and
one.
mine those for descriptions because no customer ever says, this is a revolutionary next gen seamless all in one platform that's powered by AI.
I'm thrilled to be using this.
And I'm thrilled to be
And
using it.
yeah, no.
They'll usually say something like, this helped me collect more receivables right away. By the way, that's a great hook. The job of the landing page is to get people to stop scrolling. It's not to get them to buy, it's not to get them to convert. The first thing is to get them to stop scrolling. I always assume that if someone comes to my page, they've looked at 4 of my competitors first, and that they're looking at mine on a mobile device while making the grocery list and holding their kid in one hand. That is the attention that they might give you. So if you
So
have
you
this
have to be
long,
critical.
yeah. And if you give them this long, complicated, vague, aspirational, your brand story, by the way, no one gives a shit about it, your brand story, just tell them what you do and use plain everyday language like you were explaining it to a friend. And if you're not sure where to start, go read your own customer reviews. If they're available publicly, like you go on, if you're a B2B SaaS company, you probably have at least a few reviews on
Mm-hmm.
G2 or Capterra or a site like that. If you don't, by the way, it's fine. Somewhere in your email or your CRM system, you guys are capturing feedback. It may not always be good feedback, but you're capturing feedback. If you don't have that, go to your sales reps call recordings, like if they're using Gong or a tool like that, or even if they're using Zoom, just go watch a bunch of Zoom recordings. You will go to your customer success recordings,
Yeah.
listen to their support calls. It doesn't take, I bet if you listen to 10 calls, you'll get at least 1 or 2 great lines that's
For sure.
describing your value prop with a nice hook in a way that's easy to understand.
That is true. People like to share, especially if you treat them nicely enough. Or if you,
Yep.
as you said, so if you don't have any reviews, that's fine. Ask. Send an email campaign like, hey, we're collecting feedback, Thank you for helping, making sure that the product is better. Or, as I have been through it myself several times, you can incentivize the user to share a review, to write something by giving them a gift card for them to spend on Starbucks after the review is done. Not saying that we should be doing it all, but there are ways to get real life examples and reviews without, having to go to AI and figure something out. This comes to my last question, Doctor. We are in the AI world, right? We have AI right now. We have this thing called ChatGPT that gives me so much information, so many things to write and post on my social media pages or to put as a title on my website. But I'm pretty sure that, not only you, but Spiralyze and everyone else is trying to figure out the best ways to utilize AI. Not to replace things, but of course to complement them. So where does AI add real value in the testing life cycle, and where does it still fall short? That's my last question to you.
Well, I would say generally where it falls short is making production ready copywriting and imagery. I think it still often has like a tinge of kind of this kind of ick factor.
It got old very quick.
Yes, but where I think it does really well is creating a first draft or even a second draft, especially if you give it feedback. So it can create really nice imagery first draft. You still need a designer to make it production ready. I think the other thing is, now I'm going to be very tactical about the world of A/B testing, is that when you build a test, you have to create the B version of the landing page. That means there's code, there's CSS, there's JavaScript, there's HTML, and the AI can help you do that. It can often generate the starting point of the code. I don't think in many cases that it's going to be production ready, but it can speed up your process for doing it.
That is true. Is this how you're utilizing things right now? Is the AI helping with those
We
drafts?
are doing some of that.
That's nice. And what's next for you guys? What's next for Spiralyze right now? We're in the middle of 2025.
Yeah, it's the middle of 2025. I think that CRO, conversion rate optimization, is where SEO was 25 years ago. Now, I've been in the workforce long enough to actually remember that.
I'm not going to tell you what I was doing 25 years ago because I already did this experience with other guests and they say, Victor, you're making me feel old. So I'm going to keep on.
Look, SEO today, not everyone does SEO well or as well as they should, but everyone knows they should be doing it.
Yeah,
some do a little of it, some do a lot. By contrast, in the B2B SaaS world, very few companies are doing A/B testing. I'd say 10, maybe 20% tops. And of the ones doing it, some of them are doing incredibly well. Many of them are doing meek tests where they're just doing a few tests here and there. There's this huge opportunity. Something like 70, 80% of the B2B SaaS world doesn't do any kind of A/B testing. That's a huge opportunity. So our unique opportunity is we're kind of at this still the early days of this value proposition that has a huge impact. Your website is the number one asset you have. It has the potential to be your best sales rep. It never sleeps. It never takes time off. It doesn't need a cold plunge. It doesn't have to post on Instagram about the cold plunge.
That's it. That's what a good website should be.
That's right.
Well, doctor, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for the time.
Don't call me doctor. I'm not a doctor.
Thank you for your mother wish you were.
Yes,
so,
she does wish I was.
Yeah,
she does
yeah.
Wish I was.
All mothers do. All mothers do. Not only yours. Not a personal thing. Thank you for sharing so much. Thank you for, I think, explicitly saying how important CRO is nowadays. As you said to yourself, a lot of companies know that they need to be doing it. Not a lot of them actually take their time to think how they should be doing it. And it's nice for them to now know, those that are watching us, that Spiralyze is here to help. So
That's
really,
right.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I'm looking forward for 5 months from now, how it's going to be for you guys. I hope we can connect again in a similar environment and share more about your story. But I do have one tiny last question and then we wrap this up.
I'm all ears.
Who in the recent age was the best soccer player?
I think the consensus is Messi.
Yeah.
And I would have to say that too.
Yes, there we go, everyone. Another Messi fan. Woohoo! Let's go. This is it. Everybody, I think people are more used to the fact that I'm a huge Messi fan right now. Even, I'm Brazilian, he's Argentinian, I don't care. He's magic. He's not pure magic.
Look at the impact he's had on the US, on Miami.
That is true. That is true. That Amazing. Says a lot. I mean, Cristiano would have the same brand-wise impact than Messi had in the USA. I think even bigger and better if you consider how mediable they are.
But Messi, I mean, let's look at the record of Messi, Miami FC. I'm going to Google it. What is the impact on Messi?
That must be huge.
First of all, he just had a hat trick a day ago.
That's perfect. There was Apple
it's amazing.
investing
I mean,
in
he's
MLS.
Had a huge impact.
Yeah, Apple with their pass right now on the MLS. Not only that, but there's the thing that every MLS club is paying for Messi's salary, right? Because they all get more exposure.
They all benefit.
They all benefit from having the guy. He's just incredible. Oh my God, I love him so much. Messi is indeed one of the best. I mean, for me, he's the best. And I'm very sure that you guys are becoming the Messi of your market as well. And this is how I wanted to end things. Thank you so much, Sahil, for sharing. Thank you so much for talking good about Messi. It messages my ego. I love it. And thank you so much for being on the show. That's it. I just have nothing else to say.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
We'll catch up the next time. Everyone else, all the links regarding not only Sahil but Spiralyze will be down in the description below. Don't waste your time. Go A/B test. See you guys at the next time. Bye, everyone.